come and have a jam with us. And I was like, I can't be arsed. And he was like, come and have a jam with us, you lazy bastard. And I remember they picked me up at mine at India House, and I had this Hofner guitar, which was in the shape of a Les Paul, but it was really thin and it took a battery. And I didn't know for years that it took a battery. Also, it sounded a bit shit until somebody said, oh, they're active pickups. And I was like, what does that mean? They're like, well, there'd be a battery somewhere. I was like, what? I put a fucking battery in it. It was fucking sounded the best thing ever. It sounded like fucking an atomic bomb going off. I remember going down and they had their few tunes, whatever they were, 3 or 4, 5 tunes, whatever it was, and kind of playing along with them. And it was all right, it's a good laugh. And I remember after the second time I went down, Liam saying, yeah, you must have loads of songs. Play one. And I was like, all right, well, you do this. You play that, showed them what to play, and then everybody, I can't remember what song it was, and everybody joined in, and it was at that moment when I heard a song that I'd written come to life. I was like, fucking a massive awakening, and it was instant, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds fucking great. Everything that I've been doing at home, I'm not writing these songs at home for anything, but I'm kind of fucking around, and it's all, like when I'm writing a song, I hear it all in my head. And then I was like, and it sounds exactly like it did in my head. This is amazing. And then it was like, okay, right, well, I've got this other one, and then it just went from there, and they were fucking like mad Sunday afternoons where it was the start, I think I'd done a few rehearsals with them, and we were doing one song of mine, which was Columbia, but it was instrumental. I remember they would always play on the Tuesday night. It was a local band night, so they rehearsed on a Sunday. And it's the funniest thing, right? So I'm sat on a flight case on the top of an amp, jamming with Oasis, and we've got a gig on Tuesday, and it suddenly dawns on me that I've never played guitar standing up. Not only that, I don't own a fucking strap. This is Sunday night, and I'm skint. Never played guitar standing up. Now, that seems a fucking preposterous fucking notion right now. But I can only tell you that the Monday was probably the most stressful fucking day of my entire life. Whereas I had to borrow a strap. Can I borrow a guitar strap? Well, for one of the spirals. Fucking hell. I better get it back. It's a fucking strap. Fucking hell. And then going home and putting the guitar on for the first time and spending, I'd say, a good hour, right, looking in the mirror going, where am I going to fucking, is it there or is it there? And I think where you hold your guitar for the first time is crucial. It kind of signifies how much of a cunt you're going to be. Because if it's too high, you're not getting no fit birds, mate. I'll tell you that for now. If it's too low, you're getting a goth, right? But if you get it right, the gunslinger. And I remember looking in the mirror thinking, it doesn't look right. Anyway, nailed it, right? Clearly. And I remember going to the gig and I was more stressed out. I think in a way it benefited me because I was more stressed out about playing standing up, but I didn't know what to do. I hadn't practiced. It's not like you hear stories that kids have been practicing for years for that moment in front of the mirror. I was stressing about it for 24 hours. Thank fucking God it was before phones and cameras, because there would be some pretty fucking awkward footage of it now. But, an exhilarating experience all the same. The sound, right, that everyone goes on about, the sound was born out of the fact that was the only sound that we could get out of the equipment that we had, right? Bonehead had one amp. It was a Carlsberg. If Carlsbergs made amps, they'd be shit. And it was. And it only had one sound, and it was good when you turned it up full, right? I had a Vox AC30 that belonged to Manny, right? From the Stone Roses, the second best band from Manchester. And that only sounds good if you turned it right up. So that was it. everyone went on about the fucking sound, and it was like, well, that was it. You know, it was born out of the fact that the equipment we had was shit. The Vox head was going through a Talk PA speaker. It was awful. But you masked it all with volume. I guess that made me write Liam's vocal parts in a higher register to sing over the racket. The sound was born, you know, but it wasn't something we studied at all. And if anything, we struggled trying to keep it once we became bigger, you know, and better equipment. You know, you're kind of, you know, you're on stage thinking, that's too good. This amp sounds great. It's cost me $4,000. I don't like it. The Jam, obviously, were from London, and they were from the arse end of punk. So I didn't really take any ownership of it. But the first band that I remember from the beginning were the Smiths. And they were from Manchester, and they were fucking brilliant. Seeing them for the first pictures of them in the Manchester Evening News, and then seeing them on TV, because Morrissey was like no one else before, and there's been no one like him since. And to his left, stage right, is this kid, and he's got a big red 355 or whatever it is, and he looked cool as fuck. And the way you read about them, they write the tunes together, and I mean, still a massive fan. But anyway, one day I'm coming out of 810V, and I've just bought their new album, Dusk, right? So I bump into this guy who I'd repeatedly bumped into in the Hacienda. Don't know him, don't know his name, don't know who the fuck he is. But it's one of those guys you just let onto, and you know, you'd see him at all the gigs and the raves and all that. And he's like, oh, what have you, well, so I've got an 810V bag, what have you bought? And I was like, oh, I got that. Then he said, oh, you know, mentioned something about our kids fucking. And I was like, I didn't really think anything of it, you know what I mean? And he said, so what are you up to? And I was like, I was going to rehearsals that night, and I'm in a band. What you called Oasis? Have you got a demo tape? I'll play it to our kid. And I was like, who's your kid? And he went, Johnny. It's like he must have thought I should have known who he was, kind of thing. It's like, Johnny. And I still didn't twig. And I was like, Johnny? And he went, Johnny Marr. And I was like, fuck, what? You're Johnny Marr's brother? Yeah. So anyway, it took him back to my flat, gave him this demo tape, the famous demo tape that we give him McGee, or would give McGee, about 10 days later. Off he goes. I didn't think anything of it. There's a lot of bullshitters in Manchester. Glorious blaggers. Was he Johnny Marr's brother? Didn't fucking look anything like him. Whatever. I'm not even sure I even mentioned it to the band. And then I remember maybe a couple of days, or I can't remember how long after that, coming in, and the phone went. Hello? Is that Noel? Yeah. Hi, it's Johnny. Right. Johnny Marr. And people say to me, did you think it was a wind-up? And I'm like, no. Can't that arrogant. Do you know what I mean? Of course he's going to fucking call me. My number was on the demo tape. Oh, I really like you. Really? Oh, yeah, you fucking band, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to go for that? I mean, I'll tell you now, it's fucking ludicrous. I was a nobody, right? Nobody knew who Oasis were. No one. We ended up going for a drink in this pub down by the canal with Johnny Marr from the Smiths. And then he walks, Johnny Marr, and I'm just a fucking lad, right? And you know, where'd you get what guitars do you play? I had an Epiphone, right? We were talking about guitars. And it's, what do you think of it? It's fucking mad, right? And he's like, where'd you get them from? And I was like, well, Johnny Rodas, but there's this place in Doncaster called Music Ground. And he'd never heard of it. He said, do you know where it is? And I'd been there. Something to do with the Inspiral Carpets. I think they bought some stuff from there. I'd been there anyway. And the next, he said, could you take us there? And I was like, yeah. What are you doing tomorrow? Fuck all. What is there to do? Nothing. So he picks me up in a car at India House, and I'm sitting in the back, and he's sitting in the front, and there's a guy driving. I vividly remember he's playing Exodus by Bob Marley, right? The long version. And Johnny's turning around going, get on the fucking groove. And I'm like, I love Bob Marley, right? The guy driving has the most annoying laugh I think I'd ever fucking heard. Doncaster's a good hour and a half away. And he had the most annoying, the loudest laugh I've ever heard. This guy would turn out to be Owen Morris. who was Johnny's engineer at the time. So we go to Doncaster, we go to Music Ground, and Johnny's like, he's like a kid in this one in Doncaster was a mad shop. It was fucking, like a million. It was a mad vintage guitar shop. They're not the same anymore. It was like an Aladdin's cave. So we go in the front door, and there's, and Johnny says, right, okay, I need to go and eat first before I shop. So we go to a sandwich shop, and he says to me, it's a bit of advice. Before you go guitar shopping, don't do it on an empty stomach. And then I was like, okay. And we went and had a sandwich and a cup of tea in a cafe. And then he went and bought a Stratocaster with fucking 9 pickups in it, right? But I still only know this guy 2 days, right? He's like a poster from my bedroom wall that's come to life. He's got this black Strat with 9 pickups, and he's saying, do you think it's a bit mad? And I'm like, yeah, it's mad as fuck. Yeah. He's like, he bought it, And then we travelled back to Manchester, and he says, do you want to come out tonight? And I was like, yeah. So he ends up, and he's like, do you like Japanese food? I'd never had a Japanese meal before, ever in my life. And I ended up going for a Japanese meal with him and his Mrs. Ange. Then we end up going back to his house, right? This is a fucking true story. And he's playing lots of tunes and blah, blah, blah. And his studio's downstairs. And there's all these famous guitars that I recognised. He's got to about, 2 o'clock in the morning. He's getting me a taxi to go home. And he's going on about the band and all that. When are you playing next? And I went, actually playing in a couple of days in Glasgow at a place called King Tut's. And he was like, King Tut's? Oh, fucking hell. That was the famous gig. So I left his house at 2 o'clock on like a Friday night. The next day was my birthday. The day after that, we went to Glasgow and met Alan McGee. It took place over one weekend. Well, the difference between writing those first 2 albums is I didn't realise I was writing the first one, because you're just writing tunes to play at local band nights. So your little half an hour set or whatever it is, we did quite a few, maybe a dozen. We were playing every week, to like 10 people. And every week, the shittest song in that set would get bumped for another one. Or I never realised I was writing an album until Be Here Now.